Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Seeds of Liberty podcast, episode 11. Today we have Luis Fernando Mises, a voluntarist coming in from Texas. He's the founder of Emancipated Human, Black Markets Are Beautiful, and co-founder of V for Voluntary Facebook pages. So today we're going to be discussing the recent candidacy of Jeff Berwick, Libertarian Party in Canada, and possibly what, if it's a good move, if, can we achieve salvation through politics? Is it futile? Is there hope in that realm? Or is it just a den of vipers that will eat you up? So hopefully not. But so Luis, why don't you start off, how did you become a voluntarist? We'll start there.
So how did I become a voluntarist? I guess through Ron Paul and some Pedro cactus and some ayahuasca.
That will do it.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, but we can expand on that later on. But basically, that's in a nutshell how it happened. And I think like looking back, I remember my mom always telling me, the philosophy of I'm willing to do anything as long as it's not expected of me. I will be willing to help, I'll be willing to do, but the moment it becomes my obligation, I will not do it. And now she gets surprised when I tell her that I'm an anarchist. I was like, Mom, basically you taught me that stuff. It's funny.
But there's an exception, though, okay? You can't apply that universally. Come on, what kind of person are you? Morally consistent?
I learned it from you, Mom!
Exactly.
Yeah, no, she I guess she still sees me like a little kid, so she's kind of like, pats me on the back, and she's like, whatever, go on, go play. Go play on your computer.
Go argue it with idiots on the internet.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Family members never seem to take people seriously. I guess that's the most difficult people to talk to. Even like if you're a medical practitioner like me, they say family members are the most difficult patients, right? Because they'll never take your advice unless someone else of an equal, I guess, education will tell you the exact same thing, and then they're gonna say, you know what, they have a point. I just told you that.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, like my relatives do sort of listen to me, so that's kind of neat. Like they're like, when there's like the philosophical kind of political stuff, they're like, oh, well, what do you think about it? Since you're a geek, they pointed out kind of like a sarcastic remark, but they do end up listening. So you're the politician of the family. What do you think?
The politician.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my parents and my family are. You're too into politics. I'm like, I'm not into politics.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm into non-politics.
And
or I get like the anarchist is like the party favor. Oh, so let's ask the anarchist what he thinks about healthcare, the new healthcare reform, or the new foreign policy or whatever crap. So
yeah, it gets interesting. It's kind of funny sometimes. I think my niece's husband, we were talking about it, and that we were homeschooling our kids, and I was trying to persuade him to do the same with theirs, and I talked about the Ron Paul curriculum. He's like, wait a minute, did you just say Ron Paul? Like, yeah. So it's kind of neat to like plant seeds of liberty.
Nice. Hey,
we trademark. Ding, ding, ding.
That's a copyrighted term, right?
No. Don't even start with that copyright stuff.
That is my intellectual property.
And
I will soon see you in court, sir. Wait, we're on the show. Never mind. You said it on the show. Don't say it anywhere else, or you'll be speaking with my lawyer.
As my attorney on intellectual property. So.
Right. I saw that. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Are we covered by the BIP
We are now, but that's not going to stop. That's not going to stop them.
So, Luis, why don't you tell us about your experience in the Libertarian Party? How's that going? Are you still involved in it?
Yes, and actually, we have an event right after this interview. The chair, unfortunately, he got some sort of weird-ass brain tumor that cannot be removed. So we're going to go celebrate his life. He was given 18 months left to live. So just a big hug to Alan. I'm going to go see him in a minute.
Have have you read about changing the alkalinity in your body to make it uninhabitable by tumors? I've been reading about that. It's pretty insane.
Yes, I have. And actually, well, I guess there are some things I cannot say here, but he may be getting some help on some oils of some sort. So hopefully,
cool.
he'll something nice will happen. I mean, we're kind of I mean, we're still hopeful.
Hopefully, something that's not FDA approved, right?
I can't say that.
Well, at this point, I'm sure it's whatever can help will be wonderful.
I mean,
you know?
Yeah.
We could rant about the FDA for hours.
Oh yeah, non-stop.
That'd be a good topic for another
another time. Yeah. So like these people, they're fascinating. They're awesome, and they know I'm an anarchist, and they support me. And whenever they're like, "So we need a speaker for this event that's going to happen sometime soon," and I'm like, "Well, I have some friends here." You know, I actually contacted Jeffrey Tucker, and he gave me some quotes, and I gave them to them, and I was like, "But all my friends are anarchists. If you want speakers, they're going to be anarchists." They're like, "That's okay. We like that, you know?" So, I mean, they're super open. They're very supportive. They're not like, they're real libertarians. They're not right-wing Tea Party people, you know, faking out being libertarians. They're really nice people. And, you know, we have a common goal, which is, I mean, here's where I kind of connect with Rothbard a little bit when he said that we ought to use the Libertarian Party as a tool and not see it as an enemy. And sure, I'm an anarchist, and some people will like make fun of the idea that, you know, voluntarists or anarchists are using the political system, but I guess I don't see it necessarily as a way to win power, but I see it more kind of like with the idea of educating more people from different angles. So, you know, for instance, at work, that's kind of what we teach. We teach voluntarism in the corporate world. And then, you know, on my activism, like you guys do, we do this, you know, anarchism here on the internet. And, you know, I do it with Jeff Berwick. We write I collaborate with a Dollar Vigilante, which is only $15 a month if you want to buy it. And, you know, then the political arena, which is, you know, we help people see that there are inconsistencies in the political process and how Republicans and Democrats are nothing but socialist and socialist light. So I don't see it as a way of trying to get power or be in power, but more like empower people. And funny enough, you know, like recently, us here in the Libertarian Party in Tarrant County, we just got rid of the red light cameras through political action. So there was some shenanigans, and you know, obviously those guys are just doing some sort of favoritism, corporatism, and they put those cameras in. And funny enough, you know, I've gotten like several tickets, and I've never paid them, and they don't even go in your record. So I mean, it's some shady stuff there. So, and I just don't pay them, you know. I mean, whatever. What are they going to do? They don't even go in your record. So we, the party, we got together and we did a bunch of work and collected signatures until we put it in the ballot. And then, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we voted on it, and they're out. They're out. So I mean, it's passed, and within the next couple of weeks, they're going to come down, and that's a nice victory for us. And that's just one example out of many things, you know. Like we have a friend that moved from the Libertarian Party to she became a lobbyist in the marijuana decriminalization. So she's doing a lot of work there also to help people understand the benefits of this plant, because it has much more benefits than just, you know, recreational drug. And I don't even see it as a recreational drug. I see it more of a sacrament. But I mean, everybody sees it differently. But the idea that we can get a lot of work done through teaching and helping people understand things, I think that's pretty valid. What do you guys think?
Well, I can see the benefits of it. You know, listening to your story, the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, I think it really depends on where you are, you know, and the particular Libertarian Party that surrounds you. You know, I'm in New York, and I was a member of the local Libertarian Party until I decided that I just didn't want to play the game anymore, and I resigned myself to calling myself a full-blown anarchist.
Yeah.
And my local party here, the county party here, which was extremely small, the meetings usually had like 10 people at most for a while. They were all pretty cool. Most of them were the older generation. A lot of them were either anarchists that were in the closet or borderline anarchists. But they kept insisting on try to put people on the local ballot every cycle. So when I joined up, they convinced me to run for office, even though I was pretty much at the end of my rope with statism. But I decided to go for it. But the local party is good, but the state party overall is a nightmare, because the infighting that goes in there, the mudslinging, and it's all power plays. So most of those guys consider themselves libertarians, but they'd be closer to what you were describing earlier. The Tea Party-esque Republicans who want to claim the libertarian label for one issue or two, but they're not consistent at all. That's who runs the state party here. But when you have the better groups, the ones that are, like you said, they can accomplish stuff like that. So I don't begrudge people for doing that. It's just not for me anymore. I look at somebody like you and I'm like, go for it. Berwick actually caught a lot of flack as soon as he made the announcement for the same reasons, where you were saying people are like, oh, you're trying to play the game. And, if he wants to get in there, or anybody wants to get in there and get really involved to the point of trying to become a candidate, more power to him. Like I said, it's just not for me, because I tried that and I got to see the underbelly of local politics, where the Republicans and the Democrats colluded to keep us off the ballot altogether, for local position, like I was running for county clerk. I knew nothing about the job. I was running on the platform that I wanted to abolish the position altogether, or at the very least cut my salary and the entire staff salary and the budget down to the least, almost zero. So obviously I wasn't allowed to talk in any debates or anything. They made sure I wasn't even allowed to play the game. But like I said, if people want to go for it, I see it as, it can help in that respect of getting the little laws passed. Personally, I just try to opt out. So I also, like you, don't pay the tickets like that. But unfortunately up here, I learned that after you don't pay them for a while, then they send you to collections and they start charging you more money. Still doesn't go on your driving record, but I've been getting threatening letters for a while now saying that my credit's going to be damaged. Not that I really care about that, but so they'll try to get you any which way. But
no, there was a guy in Texas or Illinois who intentionally ran 30 red lights to see if he could get away with not paying him. And his proof in court was that there was no officer there to witness the crime being committed. And he won, and they took all the red light cameras out of his city. And basically, someone has to come testify for you in court. If the red light camera was taking people or putting people there in court, they would have to be an officer. So therefore, the red light company would have to therefore start hiring officers to testify, and it would just they would lose money instead of make money. So, and plus wrecks and accidents go up on those red light intersections fivefold once they put them there.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and I, mine are. I have a couple in collection too, and what are they gonna do? Like you said, I mean, it really doesn't affect me. So yeah, we're doing a lot of things, and I'm sure that Jeff Berwick is going to be able to. I mean, he has a really big. There's a lot of people that follow him, so that's really awesome. And his reach is so vast that he will be able to even grow it more as he steps into the political arena in Canada.
Is he going to campaign from Acapulco, or is he going to move back to Canada?
That's actually something that I'm wondering.
Yeah,
because he doesn't like the cold weather. So, after living in paradise for 5 years, even when he came here to Texas, we were in Austin, and it was probably 56 degrees. He was hating it so much.
Wow.
He was hating it, yeah. So
that's my favorite weather.
Right?
When you get to live and work at the beach every day, I guess it's kind of hard to come anywhere else.
I know, yeah. So it was a bit interesting. So I don't know if he'll go back there or not for this. I'll have to ask him, and then we can talk about that later. But I think that what I find interesting is that the people that tend to be most critical towards this kind of work are people that don't get really anything done. You know, they're just there. You know, I see two things. People that are just not really doing anything about anything, and they just see you doing these kinds of things, and they call bullshit on you. And then there's like, you know, the term new rich, right? So when somebody recently becomes rich, suddenly they try to buy the best of everything and whatever. So I think that there's such a thing as new anarchist or new Rothbardian, if you will. You know, oh, how in the hell do you think you're going to be doing this political work? You're not an anarchist. You're not, you know, I don't believe in purism. Because I mean, we all, I mean, it's kind of impossible, you know, but we do the best we can. So I think the idea that we cannot and should not meddle and just be involved in this political stuff is, like you said, it may not be for some people. You know, we cannot claim higher moral ground here. So whatever you're doing for the service of yourself and those around you, I think that should be pretty awesome, and not necessarily to, like you said, to change power, but just to try to educate people and minimize the power of the state.
I used to be, you know, the Molyneux belief that, you know, if you want to, you know, if you want to enter politics to change government, you know, it's first start small, like KKK, you know, try to turn that into Black Brotherhood and, you know, things like that. And I thought like that for a while. But then now that I'm hearing more people going into, you know, the Libertarian Party in various places to try to affect change inside, it's I think I've changed a little bit, because, like you said, it's I think that's the No True Scotsman fallacy, right? You're not a true anarchist if you go into politics, but you know, that's not true. And I think you know, like you said, Luis, you know, we can all do good. You know, you engage in the, you know, black market or agorism or barter or, you know, precious metals or, you know, things like that. And it's about, you know, being morally consistent. It's about how you treat people around you. You know, I think that's what makes you a real voluntarist. And if you choose to try to enter politics to affect change, yeah, like one of his recent, I think it was Darryl Perry, he was saying that's what people, like, every 4 years, people pay attention to politics, right? Most of the time they don't. And so perhaps we could use that to spread ideas that they would normally never listen to, right? Or consider, right? Because people are actually paying attention, and that's pretty valuable, right? So, you know, and you know, over time it can become an echo chamber of us if we continue, you know, just, you know, on the internet or Facebook groups or you know, just these videos, right? So, you know, you really want to get out there, you go into politics. But yeah, again, like Jeremy said, it's not for me. I've never been in the Libertarian Party, but yeah, it's not for me, not my style. So, but again, I applaud and encourage and wish the people who do try all the best, because I think that when we can attack the state at all, from all angles, from all perspectives, that's also really valuable, right? Like, we each do our separate thing, and each of us together can affect really positive change and bring down the state much quicker than normal.
I absolutely agree, and I think that's pretty powerful. And just to pay attention and not necessarily call it politics, but call it your life. You know, I mean, like the fact that these guys are trying to rule you and trying to basically tell you what you can and cannot do. I'm also part of the Discordians, and like the idea of Discordianism is liberty is what you can get away with. So in other words, no cop, no stop, you know, like, I mean, obviously with the idea that you're going to not hurt other people. So, I mean, because a lot of people say, oh, it's going to be chaos, it's going to be whatever. No. The whole idea is, do as thou wilt, but be prepared to pay the consequences. And I think that releases and relieves any kind of pressure from anything. You know, you just do what you need to do to be happy, to pursue your happiness and your liberty. And if that means you want to eat 17 pounds of pizza, that's whatever. I mean, that's your choice, although I would probably not counsel for that, you know. Some people may want to do something else, but I mean, that, whatever, right?
So here comes my contrary position on this whole thing.
Thank you for that.
I'm not a big. All right, so if you're going into the Libertarian Party, and your entire prime objective is to change minds, spread voluntarism, anarchy, whatever you want to call it, a non-coercive life, good, do that. But if your intentions are winning it, gaining political power, building things up to do, like, you know, force everyone to accept this ideology or whatnot. Gary Johnson was the governor of, New Mexico, and, like, shit didn't even change the whole time he was there. I mean, drugs are still illegal there. The police state in New Mexico is one of the largest per capita police states. So obviously, fruitless endeavor, in my opinion. If you put all that effort more into your own close-knit community, your friends, your family, those people then do the same thing to their friends and their family, and it spreads that way.
Well, I kind of disagree a little bit, because I actually have researched his political career, and he vetoed and did not allow tons of laws to go into full effect. So any other, quote, normal, statist would have just agreed and keep signing laws into effect, but he didn't.
Well, he just delayed it.
Well, I think, honestly, here's the catch. Your vote doesn't really count beyond the local level. So I will give you that much. Beyond, like, getting, action done in your local level, your vote doesn't count. Now, with that said, how much can he do? How much is he allowed to do? Like, he's really not allowed to do, or anybody for that matter. Like, basically, I have some relatives in politics and public works and all that jazz, and I cannot say names or relationships, but this person would get the green light or the red light from his boss to whom they should give contracts to. So this person in government, even though somebody else would make it a little cheaper or probably better quality, this person was not allowed to say yes to a better contractor. So
it's called fascism.
Exactly. So, and this person was in a high position of power, the director of public works of a really big city. So if you cannot do that, then what can you do? So in other words, like, again, you really have no power. People that go for those things, you're just going, I mean, Jesus, they're getting like $175,000 a year as a state representative. I mean, even in really expensive cities, that's a lot of money, So, and just for kind of hanging out and playing with your phone and voting yes and no, I mean, even the Constitution said that these people should not hold, I mean, they're not supposed to be career politicians. You go to work and you do your thing, and then you go whenever session's on. So, I mean, it is kind of a little bit of a scam, and that's kind of what we're trying to also let people know.
I had lunch with one of my, when I was big in the Tea Party and the conservatives in Alabama. I had lunch with my local state senator, not the not the one that goes to the Capitol, but the one that is in Alabama, and I told him that I would no longer ever be supporting him because he voted for he co-wrote the bill to increase Alabama state senator state senate pay from $30,000 to $58,000, I think. And I said, "You're not hurting for money. I know exactly where you live. I've seen your house. I've seen your car. You get paid by your lobbyist." I sit there and told him all this. I said, "You get paid by your lobbyist. You get paid from your campaign. You get paid by the church and the city of commerce where you live. There's no way that you need this extra $20,000. This is not going to affect your life in any way." And he was like, "Well, we just agree to disagree." And I'm sitting here telling this to a state senator. And I'm like, it's people, I used to be a big supporter of his, and I said, it's people like you that you get into politics for the right reason, then you completely warp your entire body and the way you think. And it's no longer about how much can I help my community, it's about how much can I help myself. And that's the problem with politics, is it's almost like a drug. I mean, if you could push a button and every time you push that button you get $20,000, you're going to push that button until you pass out every day. So,
well, and I don't disagree. I like that.
Yeah, well, it's the power. I mean, like Luis was saying, and I said too, and I mean, Dave, you even agreed with that. That, if your purpose is education, then yes, run for office if that so if you so decide to do that, and even if you do get in, continue that. But it's the people that get in for the right reasons, even somebody who may want to limit the government to absolutely nothing. They stick around long enough, and it's that addiction to power that just gets to them. And that's the one thing that when I get into debates with other people about the effectiveness of politics, and to whatever extent, it's, to me, like with Rand Paul last night with his big another filibuster, which was all over social media, everybody,
dog and pony show.
Yeah, but so-called libertarians, real, actual small L libertarians, and even some anarchists that I know, they're all standing with Rand because, he's going to do this and he's going to do that. And it's like, well, to me, somebody like him has already compromised his principles numerous times. He won a lot of people's hearts with the last filibuster about drones. And then a couple of weeks later, I think it was, that he came out with the, oh, they're okay to use, domestically, though, for if somebody's saying robbing a liquor store. It's like, how is that consistent on any level? So other than his father,
I call it defensive support.
Well, yeah, but you don't other than Rand's father, Ron, you don't see hardly any politicians on any level anywhere that stick to their principles the entire time. And once you let go,
well, to play devil's advocate, Jeremy, Obama, if you had to sit down Obama on a polygraph and ask him his political beliefs, make him take a political test truthfully, he would probably come out stone cold communist, right? But when he was campaigning, he was anti-war, all this, I'm going to shrink the size of this, I'm going to do that, and it was all lies, because he did none of that. So for Rand Paul, he has to play the populist, right? Like, there's no way you can tell me that Rand Paul wasn't read Rothbard when he was a teenager, like by Ron.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying, from what I've seen from him, like I said, to me, this is my opinion. Once you let go of your principles, once you start to play the game, and you become inconsistent in your philosophy just in order to play the game, it does statistically make it that much easier to do the next time around, and the next time around, and the next time around. And I'm not saying this is what's going to happen to Rand, but you see it happen all the time. I've known local politicians personally that I met when they were first going into office, and they were, I knew these people. They were, I talked to them enough. They were, good people. They really had those great intentions. And once they went in, my local congressman, for instance, he went in and he was a really nice guy, and he really wanted to, make things better. And I actually believed him. This was years ago when I was still into, when I was still a statist, but he ended up voting for the SAFE Act, which up here in New York was, Cuomo's big thing right after Sandy Hook, because he wanted to put his name on the map, and beat out everybody else to have the best gun laws possible. And they rushed it through in the middle of the night, literally. Like, just because I was a member of the Oath Keepers at that point, I happened to be on alert for that stuff. And they literally signed the bill into law at like 1 a.m. in the morning on a Wednesday night. And he, like, Cuomo waived the 3-day waiting period that he usually takes for at least, for every other bill. He takes at least the 3 days that he's supposed to. He rushed it through, and my congressman was one of them. And when I went to go talk to him the next time, he just looked at me and shook his head. It's like, well, I kind of regret that, but I had to. And I asked him about his principles at that point, and he looked away from me, and he all of a sudden he had another meeting he had to attend. And it's like, you see it happen, and that's the scary part. A lot of these guys, even the long-term ones, they didn't start out like that. Most of them did start out with wanting to help their community, and it's just once you get that position of power, and you are put in a separate class of citizens than the rest of us.
Oh yeah,
it becomes a lot harder to resist that temptation. And then, like I said, once but even on the other hand, like Luis, you were saying about the people and how the people over them are like, no, you have to do this. You don't really have a choice in the matter. Like there's that angle too. So it's like I said, if you're going in for educational purposes and you're somebody like what I did, like you run on a platform of wanting to take things down, great. But if you're going in there to play the game, like I said, if you just look at the history, people get burned way too often playing that. It's dangerous to get into that angle.
Absolutely. I think that I can't remember where I read it, but whenever you're in a situation of power, I think a lot of people say, oh, power changes people and money changes people. Well, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's true at all. I think that what happens is it really brings out the true you. So I think and the same thing happens, for instance, when people drink alcohol. Like if some people get witty and some people pass out, some people get angry. So whatever's already inside of you comes out with power, money, and alcohol. So I would even consider that maybe that person, like maybe not this person, but some people that go into politics with the idea to change the world and they come out as just as bad as the other guys, it's probably because to start they had something inside that really was not fully consistent, I suppose. And we can, I cannot sit here and blame people because all of us have something that we're not consistent at, but the idea is that these guys, they're playing with like the future of our children and more than that. So it gets stickier. If it was just their own life, then it will be their own thing, but they're playing with fire there. So it's not for everybody, and I don't think that everybody should just go ahead and do that. But I think that there is a time and a place for it.
When some people talk to me about politics and they ask me, what do you think, Daniel, should I run for politics? Is there a chance that we can make a change? I always tell them the quote, sending in a good man to reform the state is like sending in a virgin to reform the whorehouse. That was one of my favorite quotes for a long time. Okay. Yeah. Now, I don't think I would really encourage anyone to go into politics as like the first thing to do to affect change. Maybe, I have many other things before that. But the other thing I have a problem with is, like Jeremy was saying, the dishonesty. So if we all accept that politicians lie, right? Like that's just commonplace. Another thing I tell people is that the only two types of people that can consistently lie and keep their jobs are meteorologists and politicians, right? And it's amazing how often. Yeah, right. It's amazing how often politicians lie. And it's just swept under the rug. It's forgotten the next day. It's not a big deal. It really is amazing. And like you said, Luis, politics is so influential in people's lives. Not only now, the people, the freedom of people now, but our future, kids and grandkids. The quality of their lives, what they're going to be able to enjoy. It's going to affect all that. So it's really a very powerful force in a lot of people's lives, right? And for politicians to lie so much, and then for people to just forgive them so much, and then of course have all of the all the the drone strikes and the assassinations, the occupations, the invasions, and all the the war on terror and all the people that die. And again, like, it's just glossed over. You just people laugh at their jokes, and they don't consider that these people are mass murderers on a grand scale, right? Like, another one of my favorite quotes is by Aesop. He says, we hang the petty thieves and we appoint the great ones to office, right? Because
so true.
Yeah, and it's just amazing how often they're able to lie with a straight face and just continue to do it and deceive and and manipulate. It's just really amazing. So it's very difficult for me to to believe that somebody can go in such high positions of power and maintain that integrity, right? And if you really can, I applaud you, but I don't think many people can. I really don't. And like, and another thing, J.R. Tolkien, well, he said something like, I don't trust people who in positions of power, and even less the people who strive to achieve positions of power. But again, if your intention is to spread a message, right, not wield power, like Adam Kokesh, he's on the platform of peaceful dissolution of the federal government, hopefully happen, but it's just so difficult to conceive, given the fact that we're such an enormous imperialistic empire. Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm really afraid for people that go into those high positions of power and really try to do that. Like, are they really just going to allow them to, like, bring all the troops home, nullify the NDAA, the Patriot Act, all the gun laws, dismantle the CIA, the FBI, dismantle all? Like, how easy is that going to be? And I don't know.
Those are
I have
all
a lot of
created.
questions.
All the things that end with an A or whatever, FDA, CIA, whatever, they were all created through executive order. They're funded by the Congress, so all you'd have to do is make an executive order repealing the executive orders that created those departments, and they would cease to exist. Congress funding.
I think that what Danilo says is pretty right on, because honestly, I don't think that the president really has the power to just say, okay, this is over. Because there's, like, the black budgets that go in, and then all the people that are really in power moving the strings. I mean, yeah, there is the idea that, I think Doug Casey was telling me that even if Ron Paul had been the president, they would probably sit him down, the director of the CIA and director of the FBI, and show him a PowerPoint presentation and tell him, this is what you can do and this is what you cannot do. So,
and then show the JFK assassination, and this what might happen.
Exactly. So I even think that I've only met Ron Paul once, and I never really got to talk to him. I just told him, I love you so much, Ron Paul, you woke me up. And he says, well, you look pretty awake to me. But anyway, so like, the idea that I think he was just running for a pure educational purpose. I don't think he really was. I mean, and how many people did he wake up? He woke me up, I mean, he's in tons of people. And on that regard, like, my dad back in Mexico, at some point he was the director of public transportation of Mexico City. And whenever, I mean, this is everywhere, not just in Mexico. Like, whenever the contractors came to, change the transmissions and all of that, the motors for the buses and whatever, one of the contractors brought my dad a case full of money. He says, this is your half. All I'm going to do is wash the transmissions and put them back on, and they're going to look new. So, because the public, tax money, the contractor will get paid, and my dad in that position would get his cut for giving that, I guess, that grant or whatever. So,
in Mexico it's a little different. You take the money or you take the bullet.
Well, it's not so different here,
No, I'm not saying it's that much different here. It's not as blatant as it is in Mexico.
So, my mom tells me the story that my dad came home and he basically, like, got the runs because he was, like, so freaked out by this situation. And, like, the next day he put in his notice because his boss told him, if you're not going to take this money, you're not cut out for this kind of work. So he was unrelentless, and he would not bend his, his I guess anarchist voluntarist will. So he left, and I guess that's just a story that's kind of stuck in my head, because like the idea that we, like he could have received millions, and just continue this sort of thing, but it's not what he was made of, like, I was able to learn right there, like the idea of, okay, you could be like uber rich, but I mean, out of what? Out of like thievery and fake stuff and just robbing people's money. So yeah, I mean, I there's maybe there's people in government that are good people, and they end up leaving and nobody ever knows about that. To your point, Danilo, that you were saying that maybe those people don't exist. I think they do exist, but they just leave because they can't handle that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Those are the people you never hear about. But that, I mean, now with the advent of the internet and all the alternative media, you're starting to see some more stories. There are some whistleblowers. I hate to use that term, but that's what they're classified as in different aspects of government, have come to light now, and you see that more often. But it's still, I'm sure it's still severely underreported, because even those good people that leave because they can't bring themselves to do it, and good on your dad, man. That's incredible. Like, you're right. There's not a lot of people out there like that, but when you find them, that's a good person right there, that's willing to give up that easy money for their principles. But those people that do come out, I'm sure the number is still, what people know is still very underreported because of the fear factor, because even the people that leave because they can't take it, they also don't want to speak up, because once you get inside and see the underbelly, you realize what the people at the top are really capable of, and if they're willing to steal millions of dollars, from, well, I mean, they're worthless dollars at this point, but steal the real wealth from millions of people just for their own benefit, what aren't they going to be willing to do? So that it's a shame, because those people, they just fade into the woodwork, and they don't want any more trouble. And then the next crop goes in, and the ones that do stick around are willing to play the game at least a little bit, and then they end up becoming career politicians that are there for 20, 30, 40. It's sickening that some people have been in certain offices for more than 10 years, like some of them 30, 40 years. It's just disgusting, because no matter what outward appearances they put on, you don't even have to dig very deep to find that they've just been rolling in the dough for decades.
Yeah, Obama's wealth went up 800% when he became president.
Seriously?
Well, yeah, he was worth 80 million, and now he's worth 800 million.
No, but even before he became a president, he only had like $3 or $4 million.
Well, no, before he became a president, we're talking about before he got inaugurated, because he had all the money from the campaign.
Yeah.
But I want to ask a question. I want to see what you guys feel about this. What is the core of libertarianism? Luis?
Well, I mean, when you say...
What's the core belief of libertarianism?
I think the idea that basically live and let live, I mean, is that not...
Well, it's to be against the initiation of violence.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is voting?
I don't disagree.
Yeah, so, well, Dave, it's all right. Dave and I can argue about this.
No. Like, we need contrarian talk on this program, and my contention is that you cannot claim yourself to be a libertarian and be for any form of government.
I will have to agree.
Because you can't be, because to be a libertarian, to claim yourself to be a libertarian, you have to be against the initiation of force. All government has to steal.
No, to be for it is one thing, but you started off with the voting aspect,
voting is forcing your neighbors.
We have talked about this before, and I'm in the Spooner camp on this, where you can't make that blanket statement, because if you put that scenario, if you're a slave on a plantation and the master gives you the opportunity to vote for less whippings and better meals, are you now consenting, and are you now part of the violence because you vote for that? Absolutely not. If so you can't make that blanket statement that
But what
all
if
voting is
I know
violent.
this?
People who vote and think they're going to change, yes, they may be misguided. But if you're going to be, say, voting, like, as Luis said earlier, that it really only matters on like the local level.
See,
if you're voting for ballot measures and not for politicians, then yes, you can call it violence if you want, but you're doing something to not only better your own situation, but everybody's situation outside of the ruling class. Everybody's situation. If you're voting against a ballot measure or for a ballot measure, you get like red light cameras taken out of your jurisdiction, to have like local drug ordinances lifted, anything like that. That to me, that's not a violent act. That's self-preservation right there. And like I said, in the general terms, yes, I understand what you're saying, but I just don't think you can make that a blanket statement because you're ignoring all these other nuances.
I'm not making a necessary blanket statement. I'm just trying to make a factual statement. And on top of this, you're also negating the fact that on a large majority, slaves believe that they should be slaves and that the authority of their master was just and virtuous.
But that's irrelevant to the analogy I brought up.
I understand that's irrelevant, but your thing is, would you vote for better food and better housing to sleep in, less whippings? There are some slaves that would say to you that you're incorrect, that master should feed us what he wants and whip us as much as we want because he's our property, or we are his property.
Sure, but 99 million people could say something to one person, and if they're morally wrong, they're still morally wrong. It doesn't matter what they say. I'm talking about the actual, breaking down to the the lowest level here. It's like I said, the way you put it, the way you bring it up every time, to me, it just sounds like a blanket statement. So not all voting is violence. If you're voting with the intent purpose of getting your guy into office so his new laws get passed and your will is now imposed on other people, then yes, absolutely. That, to me, that's an act of aggression. But if your sole purpose for voting is to vote on ballot measures, or
if we could only vote with our dollar, if government was a capitalist foundation, if we could just say, I'll pay my taxes, but I'm only going to pay into this.
But that's an oxymoron. If government was for profit, it wouldn't be government. It would be a private enterprise, right?
You're assuming that government isn't a private enterprise at this point.
Well,
it's just an arm of the Federal Reserve at this point.
Well, I mean, there are some entities that are the for-profit part of government. A lot of people complain about private jails and all this stuff, but in reality, it's not like, it's only the for-profit part of the government, but it's not really private. It's not the free market. So, it's like, what would it be? Like some form of neo-fascism of sorts?
No need to put neo in front of it. It is fascism.
Yeah, that's what Dave's favorite word, and I have to agree with him on this one. It absolutely is. The whole system is, because there is no free market. There's never been a free market. As soon as government interferes, the free market process has been destroyed. It's been co-opted.
Just the idea that for trade to happen, we have to have this socialized money. That already is meddling in the free market, and kind of fucking with the worth of your money and the supply of it. So right off the bat. So
Danilo's happy you mentioned money.
Danilo's favorite topic.
Well, I was gonna say that it's very unfortunate that that's one of the things that people attack, like Monsanto and Chevron and BP and these huge special interest groups. They say they just care about the money. They don't care about the environment. They don't care about the people. I'm like that's what a private business is. They care about the money. If they don't have a profit, they're gonna go under. They're gonna go bankrupt. So the evil thing is not profit. The evil thing is association with the monopoly on violence, right? It's destroying competition at the most basic level, and employing regulations that will benefit. It's protection, right? That's the evil part. The evil part is not the money or the profit. That's people. It's so unfortunate that people vilify money. When just a slight bit is associated with special interest group. it's just I saw a good meme. If money is evil, or if guns kill people, then pencils misspell words.
Spoons make us fat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
A salt spoon. I saw that one the other day.
You saw that. That was really good. I mean, these are just objects, inanimate objects, and people have to get over the idea that they can do anything without people.
Just touching on that, I think that yes, there is a lot of truth in that statement, but I think that the core principle, the core value of a business is not to make money, and I will challenge you on that one. Because, you know, what is the purpose? For instance, you're a doctor. What's the purpose of a doctor?
To help people.
True. Yeah, to help.
So
to help people.
But doctors don't normally employ themselves. They normally are employed by a hospital or a clinic, and the clinic, its job is not to help people; it's to make money, so it can pay its doctors.
I disagree there. I think that making money is, for instance, I'm a human.
Value is subjective here. Keep that in mind.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But I think, and notice that I'm saying I think, I'm not saying it is. I think that the primary, like for instance, hospitals have mission statements. Their mission statement doesn't say we're going to make the most money for, you know, stock owners, you know, stockholders. Their mission is to whatever, you know, mission is to heal or to bring health or whatever. So, but money comes as a side effect. And I think John Mackey says it best when he talks about whenever we go after income or profit in an indirect fashion, we end up getting more of it. Because if I come to you and I know that you're only wanting my money and try to give me a crappy service or the least amount of service possible to get my money, I'm not going to go back to you. However, if you try to explore your gifts, if you try to fulfill your calling, if you're a badass acupuncturist and you love what you do, I am going to come to you and hand you my wallet, you know, and money will come out of, you know, like crazy. And that's kind of like a neat paradox because life is full of double binds.
You just got to keep your eye on what Danilo's actually poking you with, though. I'm just saying.
Well, I was gonna say that. I was just gonna say, Danilo, make sure you remember this. I mean, we have it on video now, so the next time you see Luis, you can take him up on that.
Well, no,
he's gonna hand you his wallet.
My wallet for acupuncture, Danilo. I'm sure my wife will like that too.
You can have my wallet if I can keep my driver's license and my credit card.
Let me respond to Luis. That's a very good point. I agree. And yeah, I would say that, you know, with any business, you know, you do have your duty is to make a profit, but also to serve the customers, right? That they go hand in hand, you know. And you're right. Maybe serving the customers is even more, but still, they're very close, right? And all I'm saying is that when people vilify profit or money, you know, they're really doing a disservice to you know, to private enterprise and you know, free trade in general, because the evil part is not the money. So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody has to make money, and that's not the question. The question is like the core value is not just to make money. I'm a human, but I don't live to eat. You know, that's just the fuel for my life. You know, I live for other things too. And then, like Jeremy was saying, it's all subjective. So, was it you? Was it Dave? Somebody said that it was all subjective.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy would say the same thing.
No. Actually, I was going to agree with Luis because I think that's right. That the, you know, the profits are actually a byproduct of providing the service in the first place. Yes, are there bad actors out there that's only goal is to make money? Absolutely. But, you know, we talk about this all the time, that even amongst ourselves, that, you know, the whole idea of wanting to have an actually freed market is so that competition can be there, and people, the whole idea is providing the best services at the most competitive prices to keep yourself in business and to keep people coming back to you. You know, that's what we preach. So that is the idea. And it actually ties into that article you posted on one of our sites last night, Dave, the 9 socialist words that people use all the time unknowingly. You know, greed was one of them. People mistake greed for a bad thing because that's what they're programmed to believe. They're programmed to believe that people only want the money, and they don't focus on the fact that if you're not providing a good service, at least in a freer market, you know, the people at the top right now that have all the regulations in their favor aren't they're not playing fair, obviously. But when you're left to your own devices like that, you have to provide those services. You have to keep people coming back. 'Cause
Absolutely.
otherwise, yeah.
There's
So-
like, for instance, one of the CEOs that we work with, he says that he expects out of everybody in the enterprise to provide two things: business results and servant leadership. So it's not one or the other. If you're really good at one but not the other, they will let him go. They've let go people that make them tons of money because they were not servant leaders. So the idea of being a voluntarist, a peaceful individual that makes money is basically what they're looking for. And like, people that follow this kind of ideology are in the Forbes 100 best companies to work for, and they're like, a lot of those are our clients. So the idea that, yes, we need to make money and we want to pay the highest wages and we want to give the most perks and the most vacation, but that comes because of the service that you provide. If you're a shitty person, nobody's gonna come back to your business. Like I think it was a couple of years ago, I went to Indianapolis to a conference, and I got to meet Howard Behar, the president of Starbucks. And I mean, obviously, I asked him for a selfie. But aside from that, what his book was about was it's not about the coffee. So you're like, Starbucks, and it's not about the coffee. What the hell is this? So what he goes on to explain is, when you go to Starbucks, the barista knows your name. They know what you like. They greet you, and you want to go back, and you're willing to pay, $2.50 for or just a black coffee that you can pay 99 cents at QT. Why? Because of the service. It's not just because, I mean, the coffee is superior in my opinion, but it's not just because of that. It's because the way you were treated. So by putting people first, they're going to go back. And I mean, that's a great business, like the way to handle business.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's, if capitalism works well when you put the customer ahead, but unfortunately, you can't put the customer ahead in politics.
I think that you probably cannot, and you're right. But then again, I don't think that politics is politics is a filthy game. When we went to Austin, for the state convention, we only got done like a couple of items in like 2 days, because that stuff takes forever. And then like a group of the Tea Party people came and hijacked the nomination for governor, and so she ran. A Tea Party woman like paid. Well, I don't want to say that. She convinced a lot of people to vote for her, and suddenly it's not a libertarian running for governor, but a Tea Party person. I mean, it is filthy, it is dirty, and it's tricky. And if you know the rules, you can get your way, or just push yourself around and get things to your favor. So yeah, I mean, it can be frustrating, and it's kind of not nice, like you said. So I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just repeating what I said before, that if somebody were to ask me what the best thing I can do to affect change, I would not say go into politics as the first option, right? There are so many different options I would tell people first, because so many people just, if you fully understand the voluntarist philosophy and then you go into politics, that's a big difference than somebody saying, I want to change the world, I'll go into politics. I think there's a big difference there. When they don't philosophically understand what is government, what exactly is taxation, right? Right? They're like, if you don't really understand that first, then please do not go into politics. Please, you will be hurting more people than you will be helping. And again, I say this almost every episode, right? The road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? And if you go into politics with good intentions and you end up hurting a lot of people and robbing a lot of people, that's still not an excuse. Like, oh, I didn't know. No. No. First, get your head to understand the philosophy, and then we'll we can go from there.
Yeah, or you guys can move to Texas and we can just create here some sort of libertopia with all these liberty-minded people and guns and all this. You're shaking your head no, Dave. It's okay. We'll bring you. We'll bring you.
Dave's so attached to Alabama, he has their school, their college logo tattooed on his arm. So
Alabama.
he's not going anywhere. Yeah.
Hey,
I can
My home's in Alabama. My home's in Alabama.
Dave.
My heart is in Alabama.
He's
Not
a
happening.
he's a statist.
No, no, no.
Well, I guess I'm the same because I like Texas, so that's cool.
All right. So if anyone has any last remarks before we finish up, yeah, like what would you say, Luis, to somebody who would say, what's the first thing that I can do to affect change in the world? What would you say to somebody like that?
I love Jeffrey Tucker's quote to finish this with, and I mean, I'm going to butcher it, but he basically says to be an activist for liberty, find what you do best in any sector of life that benefits you, those around you, and the societal whatever around you, and do the best that you can, and that is going to be the best work for liberty. So if you're you're laying brick, if you're an acupuncturist, if you're a teacher, if you're whatever you are, if you do the best that you can, that's probably the best way to get government out of people's
beards.
hands. You can grow beards, you can, and you can play with it, and
I grow beards. I
can
grow
get
liberty
soup on it.
beards.
You can play with it.
I grow liberty beards. That's what I do. Beards for freedom.
So I guess if I can just plug in a couple of things, my channel Emancipated Human on YouTube and the website emancipatedhuman.com, and Luis Fernando Mises on Facebook. And I also write for the Dollar Vigilante. You can get an awesome subscription for only $15 a month. And we do a lot of awesome things. And I guess that's about it. Yeah, my consulting work, and McGee Cooper and Associates, and politics here in Tarrant County, Texas. And thank you so much for having me, guys.
Jeremy hasn't talked in like 10 minutes. He's got to say something before the show ends.
Sure. Come on, Jeremy.
Well, I actually unwittingly planned to say something that you already stole my thunder with Jeffrey Tucker's quote. I actually don't know that quote, but no, it's just funny because that's what I was gonna say. It really comes down to what you're comfortable with. You know, if
He's acting like Obama now.
If you come, if
you didn't build that, Luis.
If you want to get into politics and your mind is on abolishing things and running on some type of platform or just helping out people that will, then go for it. You know, if you want to be some kind of activist in another way and that's what suits you, then do that. You know, like you said, it really, it doesn't matter what it is necessarily. It's if you put if you have the passion and you find what you feel comfortable with, you can make it your own, and you just spread the message however you possibly can. That's about it.
Well said, man. Well said.
I agree.
Wrap us up, Danilo.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening to the Seeds of Liberty podcast. Thank you very much, Luis, for coming on.
Yes,
if anybody wants to support us, you can support us through Bitcoin, through Patreon, and we will accept any value you can throw at us. No problem. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening.
Google voluntarism.
Google voluntarism. Read Rothbard.
Peace.
Take care.
Bye,
Have a good
guys.
day.
Thank you.
Bye.